Hey guys, it's Mathil here, and today I thought I'd do a bit of a talk and my own view and discussion on the 2.1 preview that just recently came out today, to do with all the skills, league mods, all that sort of thing. So, I'm gonna jump right into it, and here we are. So this is it. 2.1 is what's coming out in December 11th, I believe they said, so about exactly a month. And we can start off by just watching the trailer, and I'll talk about what I see in it and what we all see, I suppose. I wonder if that's loud or quiet. Anyway, so this is the Talisman League that's coming out as going to be the next 3-month league, which looks kind of sort of similar to how ghosts, tormented spirits operate, in that you're going to fight monsters which are buffed by the talisman that you find. This is where you summon a talisman monster by sacrificing several talismans. And what talismans are, as far as we can tell, are just corrupted necks that you find on the ground, or possessed by monsters you find. They'll be possessed, and you kill them and get the corrupted item before other things possess them. Got some new bow skills here. There's a turret there, shrapnel shot, and there was also a firestorm-like skill. There's some new physical damage spells. You got that one I'm really excited about, Blade Vortex. Some new chaos damage spells, 3 of them to be precise, and we'll talk about those a bit later too. And then lastly, Blasphemy Support Gem. And this is potentially the new boss. And there's some more tormented talismans, let's call them. Not tormented spirits. Alright, so all in all, it looks pretty goddamn fancy. I'm excited to try it. Not The league looks pretty fun still, talismans and all that, and with new bosses that could be good, but I'm much more excited about the skills, I would say. So where do we kick off? Talisman Challenge Leagues. So December, as we said, standard and hardcore, so they're both going to be the exact same league. It's just up to you whether you play standard or hardcore. I wouldn't know what I'm going to play yet, but usually I have more fun on standard, especially when you're testing a whole bunch of new shit, like monsters, bosses, you know. You kind of want to have a standard approach to it where you don't care if you die because you want to see what it does, how hard it is, what you need to beat it, etc. So what happens is, supposedly there's going to be powerful monsters corrupted by talismans. You kill them, they'll drop a talisman, which is an amulet, corrupted amulet, and you have to pick it up before other monsters get possessed by it by picking it up. As it says, talismans have such a strong lure that monsters are irresistibly drawn to them. If a monster possessed by one is slain, other monsters will rush to claim the talisman for themselves. So what they're saying is they're just corrupted necks, and they have different implicits compared to what we're used to for amulets. You also cannot roll them or do anything to them, so all you can do is just find them, and then it's up to the gods of RNG whether or not it's good. Some of these implicits actually look pretty good already, and these are just some tier 1 talismans, so the very base version, like normal version I guess we could call them. And they still have some pretty nice mods, like 23% fire damage, which, when you look at this one, 30% fizz, you imagine it's a 20 to 30 roll, and 30% fizz or fire damage, that's like 2 or 3 strong passives. It's already pretty damn nice compared to, say, a strength point, 30 strength, 24 strength and dex. So it's not bad at all, but you're kind of just up to pure RNG whether or not you find a good one, and if you do, you're going to be fairly rich, I imagine. 1 max number of zombies, that's kind of nifty, and then some unique that didn't look too exciting to me. And then you have the stone circles, so that's basically going to be your summoning portal for bosses using the talismans. What it says is you're going to need 5 of some sort of tier of talisman, so I imagine any 5 of these comboed together in a stone circle, and it summons a boss. Depending on the rarity of the amulet, it'll give different boss types. If you use 5 uniques, it says, suppose there'll be a unique boss. Because it says, sacrificing magic, rare, or unique talismans at a stone circle grants a chance to summon a monster possessed by a talisman of similar rarity. Not sure I really know what chance to summon a monster by that means. If you can get, like, a lesser tier than, say, summoning 5 rares if you get a blue monster. That might be kind of gay. But, yeah. So these are just tier 1s. You got to sacrifice 5 tier 1s, get a sort of tier 1 boss. Sacrifice 5 tier 2s or 5 tier 3s, and then you get the better things. So these are some tier 2 talismans, 14% increased dexterity. That's quite a lot. So, that's good for, let's just say, a lot of accuracy, evasion. Pretty nifty. 50% cold damage taken as fire damage. That's another mod that looks pretty damn useful. Let's say you have an RF character that's got, say, like 90% fire resist, and you're wearing Arctic armor as well. All of a sudden you wear this amulet and cold is pretty damn threatless to you as well. If there's other elements, that could be really good too. And then 25% increased energy shield on this one, which is also quite chunky. That means that if you get a good enough roll, you can have like a 25% ES there, like a 50 ES roll, and another 20% ES. All in all, that makes it so you can have like 50% ES from one neck slot, which is huge. Then they're introducing to us a boss, Thane Rigwald. Rigwald, supposedly it's German. The Wolven King. So what it says is when you sacrifice 5 of the 3rd tier of talismans, portal opens to the Den of the Wolven King, where you can challenge Rigwald himself. Possessed by one of the greatest talismans, he poses a lethal threat, yielding a substantial prize. So, speculation does say that it might be something similar to an Atziri run. He might be just as tough. There might even be more talismans dropped by him that you can then sacrifice to make an Uber Rigwald. Who knows? But if it's something like Atziri, that's very exciting. Because Atziri herself is a great addition to the game. It's like a, sort of World of Warcraft style raid boss that you can take on by yourself. And that's something I was always looking for in a game, like WoW, PoE, D3, whatever. So that sounds pretty damn good. He looks like a melee character, something like that. So if he's similar to Vagan at all, AI-wise, that is going to be just terrible, annoying, and something to overcome. So probably not for all builds. And then next they talk about the actual league itself, the rewards. The league has 32 challenges that ascend in difficulty, so similar to how we usually have challenges for leagues, but this time there's 32. You receive a piece of Rigwald's armor set for each 8 challenges you complete. So, sounds like you get some MTXs this time around, as well as that you get some hideout totems after doing 18 challenges and some other stuff. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I don't usually care too much for challenges, just because, you don't really get too much out of it. Some flashy totem in your hideout, that doesn't really affect me too much. But MTX, I'm usually a fan of those. I like making my characters look shiny and pretty. So that could be something to aim for, definitely. Might have to actually complete 32 challenges this league. And then we move on to the new skills and supports that are coming out. So they say we have 8 new skill gems and 4 new support gems. So that's pretty nice. 3 new bow skills to start things off with. The first one was Shrapnel Shot, so that was just you hit things and then a cone of lightning comes out. What it says is fires an arrow that pierces through enemies. Arrows are fired with such force that they create a burst of lightning, damaging all enemies in a cone in front of the archer. So to me that sounds like you shoot, you hit, as soon as you hit something you get a cone in front of you that's basically like a lightning tendrils but just one hit instead of a channeled cast of lightning tendrils. So just like a little AoE in front of you. Sounds like it could be pretty damn good scaled with a lot of AoE. And just a nice leveling skill in general by the looks of it. And it's lightning based, so that's a nice alternative to a lightning arrow if you want to shock things and be a lightning spec. It has the potential to be pretty great, I think. Blast Rain. That's the sort of firestorm skill that you see when you shoot up and it sort of rain down fiery arrows or something. That, I think, has potential to be pretty good as well. Fires an arrow up in the air which splits and rains down in a series of explosions over an area. The explosions will overlap on the targeted area. So that's our basically second real fire skill for bows, I think. Burning arrow, now this. This looks like it's actually going to be just a solid leveling drill, if nothing else. Uh, Something like this feels to me like it's going to scale well just off of low-end gear. So at 28, you pick this up and it should be pretty solid just to use and get a lot of damage out of. Whether it's got AoE endgame potential, not too sure because Rain of Arrows, it seems kind of similar. It might do more damage, but at the end of the day, it still has to compete with things like Tornado Shot, Lightning Arrow, Split Arrow. And one of the problems with the AoE bow skills is you also have to invest in AoE as well as everything else you do with bows. So it leaves you a bit more spread out. That said, could be interesting. It's another fire skill. Definitely have to give that a go. And then Siege Ballista, a totem, basically a turret. So it's like a ranged attack totem, I guess, that you just drop and it shoots, I don't know, big arrows. It's got half the attack speed of normal, 50% less. Deals pretty chunky damage, and arrows always pierce. Can't really speculate too much on what this is going to do, but it could be a good option for dual totem builds. Not something I'm really too keen on. Not much of a totem player myself, so I'll probably let other people experiment with that more than me. Maybe it'll just be a good skill to have in a 4-link for just about every bow build though, if nothing else. Just drop, have your usual tornado shot build, whatever. Have that in a 4-link, drop that during a boss fight, it helps do some good damage. Maybe. Then new physical damage spells. So as it says, until now we basically had EK and Shockwave Totem as our physical damage scaling spells, and now they've given us Blade Vortex and Blade Fall. Blade Vortex to me looks pretty damn exciting. 6 crit, you can start it at level 12, fairly cheap mana cost, that's all good stuff there. Fizz damage, base duration is 5 seconds, and can have up to 50 active spinning blades. So God knows how that's actually really going to function, but I think it looks like it could be very strong. It's an AoE duration scaled with a lot of AoE. I think this could end up doing some serious damage. A very crit friendly spell too with 6 crit. So it's basically, as far as I'm concerned, a spell version of Sweep from what I can tell. Or maybe it'll replace something like Ice Nova or Shock Nova even. Not too sure, but I'm excited to try that one out, just self-cast, as well as cast on crit Cyclone. If you can use that with cast on crit Cyclone, I think it's going to be crazy. So that I am very looking forward to. Bladefall at level 28, that was the sort of rain that was in the video that just did physical damage. So it starts out with quite a lot of damage there, it does 58 to 87 at level 28. It says ethereal weapons rain from the sky, dealing damage to enemies in a sequence of volleys, each wider but less damaging than the last. Enemies can be hit multiple times where these overlap. So it slowly goes down in damage as it keeps hitting. 5% less damage per volley. I don't know, I'm not sure what to think about this one. If it feels kind of clunky to start with, like Firestorm always had to me, like things miss a lot, you can't hit everything. Not sure if it's going to be that great. It is an AoE, so hopefully it scales well with AoE, but in the video itself the witch is standing there like face tanking a lot of damage and just casting Bladefall. Hopefully we can get around that. High dexterity though, 67. Not going to be very friendly to use at all for something like a witch or a Templar to start with. It might be more of a shadow skill. Don't know. Then we got the new chaos damage spells. We've got 3 of them, and they're pretty centered around doing damage over time, as chaos typically is. Contagion, something we've had a look at already about a week ago or so. Basically just a dot you put on, and then when an enemy dies, it spreads to another enemy. So it's, you'd be fairly similar with something like this from Diablo 3 and maybe World of Warcraft. Put a dot on an enemy, if it dies, it spreads to another enemy. So it could be really strong depending on how much damage you can scale through it. Definitely have to give this one a go. It just, it depends if the damage is there to be able to clear fast enough and prevent you from taking lots of damage while using it. On the plus side, don't have to worry about crit for something like this, so you should be able to scale it pretty easily. Then we got Essence Drain, so that was the single target projectile that we were shooting, and it does a base amount of damage and then some damage over time, as well as giving you some leech. Recover 0.2% of debuff damage as life, which isn't very substantial unless maybe that goes up as you level it, and does a shitload of damage. Otherwise, 0.2% is going to be barely anything. Might just be a bit of life regen to help sustain between packs, but you wouldn't reliably be able to do anything with that for survivability. At least I don't think so. But you're going to be able to GMP that maybe. Shit, maybe you can attach that to like cast on crit, do something crazy. The spectral throw, I don't know. Speculation at this point. Looks okay though. Just impaired, comboed with the other skills. So then you have Wither, which was the sort of AoE Flame Blastish sort of channel that we had during the video. It just creates a circle in the ground, and then you channel it wherever you want, and it does some slowing effect, and it says a debilitating effect on enemies in an area, slowing their movement and applying a stacking debuff that increases the chaos damage they take. So it synergizes with the other skills, of course. Basically stand there, cast it on monsters, and they get slower and they take more chaos damage. Not sure how much application it's going to have for the average character, maybe just more for support characters, or if you really do somewhat invest into heavy amounts of chaos as a player yourself. Not sure if all three comboed together, if you like make a full chaos build, if it's going to be fast enough to compete with other builds, but it's definitely going to be an interesting thing to try. We'll move on to these support gems. I apparently don't have the images loaded here, but that's okay. Nothing too outlandish except for Blasphemy. They're basically just additional damage. Nothing too flavorful there, but good additions to the game that were fairly required. So starting with Controlled Destruction, 1.3 multiplier, and reduces your crit chance by 100%. So that means that if you're a non-crit build, you'll essentially have 0 crit if you have no crit anywhere else, and 25% more spell damage. I imagine that's going to go up to about 40% by level 20. Excuse me. So yeah, really good for non-crit builds. We're thinking Incinerate, Ball Lightning. You could go with Flame Blast even, that might make a good comeback with this. Might even be able to scale like Glacial Cascade non-crit now. Basically any non-crit spells are going to be able to use this, and it should be pretty strong. Now I wouldn't get it too excited about like Incinerate saying, oh, it's going to be even more insane, because maybe they're going to reduce Incinerate by the amount of damage that this gives, and then this basically is a required support, and we just lost a link. Who knows what they're going to do, so I wouldn't speculate too much about what combos with what to be super strong just yet. A good addition for non-crit spellcasters though, that should make leveling very easy and some potentially more endgame potential. Then we have Void Manipulation, which is a Chaos support gem. 20% more chaos damage, 25% reduced elemental damage. That shouldn't matter too much if you're pure chaos. It might matter for the chaos conversion builds, so say my Chaos Incinerator, that starts out as fire and then converts to starts out as fire, converts to chaos. I don't know if that means that I'm going to get 25% reduced from the start of my fire conversion, and once it's converted I then get 20% more chaos damage, which in the end means it'll be a slight nerf. It might just be more for the pure chaos damage builds like your Poison Arrow, your Viper Strike, and all this nonsense. Not too sure about that yet, but it could be good. It's pretty good for all these. Obviously going to be fairly essential. Probably a very staple gem for those. Rapid Decay, that's your dot effect support, which pretty good, pretty necessary at this stage of the game. Reduce the skill effect duration, but 20% more damage over time. Basically it just means you're going to deal your damage over time quicker, which seems pretty essential for things like these. Because you don't want to stand around for too long waiting for your things to kill things. You just want to get in there, have your dot, obliterate a life bar, and then move on. So Rapid Decay paired with Contagion seems pretty solid. And then lastly, Blasphemy. We saw a preview of this before. What it does is you attach it to a curse, and then that curse becomes an aura for you. It then reserves 25% of your mana, something like a Herald, So let's just call it Herald of Curse. Yeah. Attach, say, temp chains to Blasphemy. Reserve 25% of mana. Everything around you is going to get temp changed automatically. So this actually opens up a lot of pretty huge combos that you can do with builds. Going to be very strong for melee builds, for example, especially since a lot of melee builds don't even have that many things they can reserve. Mostly down to like Hatred and Herald of Ash. Maybe some Arctic Armor, maybe some of the Heralds, but not that strong options compared to having a perma auto curse all around you. If Cyclone's still insane, come 2.1, Blasphemy is going to be a very, very good buff to Cyclone, making Cyclone even better. In general though, yep, pretty damn good. You can have more than one curse if you attach curse items or passives, so +1 curse. That means you can have then 2 curses, you'll have a Blasphemy attached to 2 supports, to 2 curses, and have a 50% reservation with 2 curses perma around you. Pretty goddamn good, and open up a lot of combos, definitely. Then, lastly, of course, continued balance changes. This is just a little preview of the Shadow Tree that they're going to do, but they say that they're going to rebalance some monster damage. Pretty good idea. Rebalance the Leech, I think another good idea. Do some more passive skill tree changes, that's always fun. Mana cost for melee skills, that's pretty necessary, and spell progression for high level casters. Not quite sure what that means yet, but yeah, hey, we'll see what that means when we get there. And then of course the power of low level bows and the power of early minion skills. That's also pretty good quality of life issue. Right now, I've leveled bow characters early on in leagues, and I'm not a slow player, but I would be hours behind the top guys who are running Flame Totem, etc. And that's after like 8 hours, I think, I was 4 hours behind. Give me a Flame Totem, I can probably compete with those guys. But that's just how bad bow is at the very start of the game compared to some of the other builds. So everyone's going to receive a passive reset, so you can fuck around on standard as you wish with the new passive tree. But yeah, if they're consolidating a lot of stuff on Shadow to be a bit more like the Templar tree, that's going to be pretty exciting. Hopefully we get a few more life nodes around that entire area. Otherwise, yeah, Shadow might just become really, really strong. There's nothing wrong with Shadow right now anyway. And of course, there's going to be a bunch of new unique items. Why wouldn't there be? A lot more uniques, always a good thing. They previewed some sort of jewels that are a whole new tier of unique jewel called threshold jewels, which mean that you have to hit a certain amount of something and then you get a bonus. And here's the preview of a jewel. With at least 50 dexterity allocated in radius, each spectral throw projectile gains 4% increased damage each time it hits. That's pretty confusing to me. I'm not entirely sure what that means. As far as I can tell, it's really good for AoE. If you shoot like your GMP spectral throw through a wave of enemies, every time, let's say that furthest left thing hits an enemy, every time it hits an enemy it gets 4% increased damage. So you hit like 10 enemies on the way there, you get 40% increased damage. And then that means on the way back you're dealing an extra 40% with that one projectile. That's as far as I can tell what that means, as well as stacking on the way back. So good for AoE, not really going to mean anything for single target, except for maybe an extra 20% proj damage or something like that. Interesting enough. Spectral Throw is going to need more than that to make a real big comeback though. And then a few other just leveling bow, some other random unique. Not really going to talk too much about that, I'll let you make your own conclusions. And there's a whole bunch of new stuff, a few previewed items there. Looks like a new flask, new staff, some other jewels. As always, a bunch of new uniques. So then, that's about it for that, as far as I'm concerned for discussion. December 11th on a Friday, so it's going to be a weekend for the launch. So about a month away from now. And then lastly, there's going to be a whole bunch more patch notes for this coming soon. But lastly, they said that they plan to announce details of the next major expansion at the end of the week. So within a week's time, we're going to hear about the new major expansion for Path of Exile. Suppose we could call that 3.0? I don't know. That's pretty crazy though that it's coming that soon. Released in Q1 2016, which means the first 3 months of 2016 could have straight after this leak, which is what, 3 months, maybe 4 months. March, April, we'll have a whole new expansion. So that's something else to get really excited about. But that's far away. We don't really need to worry about it yet because we have a kick-ass new league to look forward to in about a month. I'm pretty excited. And I hope you guys are too. Like I said, don't jump to too many conclusions yet until we know a whole bunch of number changes and actually get to experience a bunch of changes. So yeah, try not to speculate about what's going to be shit, what's going to be amazing. Because as we all know, when the the shotgunning changes came in, everyone said Incinerate was dead. Dead, I say. And what happened with that? Incinerate's one of the strongest skills in the game right now, and has been for the past few months. So just wait, play it cool, wait till you see all the changes, wait till you feel a lot of the changes, and then act accordingly based on that. But yeah, all looks pretty good, the league looks pretty fun, and I hope you guys are just as hyped. So I am once again Mathel, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.